Hello, Mr. Principal. Thank you for meeting with me today. I'm really excited to talk about this. I wanted to talk about inclusion and why it's important for students with disabilities. In regards to students on my caseload, I know that I've noticed a few things throughout the school year in regards to inclusion, so I made a nice handout that I want to go over with you today to describe why inclusion is so important and how we can improve on that in our school. So I started my handout talking about why non-academic inclusion is so important. We know that we want students with disabilities to participate with their gen ed peers as much as possible, and a lot of the times we just think about having them participate with their peers in the general ed setting for learning activities, but we don't really think about the non-academic parts of their day. So some of these things could include recess, art, music, field trips, assemblies. These are all essential environments that students make growth in, and inclusion in these areas is critical. So some of the reasons why, I've listed a couple of reasons why. I have 4 different reasons. So one reason is it supports social and emotional development. These settings allow students to build friendships, practice communication, and develop independence. It's also important because learning happens everywhere. Critical skills like following routines, problem solving, sensory regulation, all of these things are learned outside of the classroom. Another thing is it prevents isolation. For many students, especially those with autism or communication needs, these environments provide unique learning opportunities that can't be replicated in the traditional classroom. Another reason why inclusion is so important in the non-academic setting is because it builds culture. Inclusive participation signals that every child is a valued member of the community, and it promotes a culture of equity and belonging. Those are all reasons why I feel that it's important to include all students in the non-academic setting, but the law also says that we need to be doing this. So I have listed a couple of laws, both federal and for our Michigan state laws. So I'm going to start with Michigan, which I'm referencing the MARS, which is Michigan Administrative Rules for Special Education. So the one that I found was the title is 300.114, which is LRE requirements. And it says each public agency must ensure that to the maximum extent appropriate, children with disabilities, including children in public or private institutions or other care facilities, are educated with children who are non-disabled, and special classes, separate schooling, or other removal of children with disabilities from the regular education environment occurs only if the nature or severity of the disability is such that education in regular classes with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be achieved satisfactorily. So what this just means is schools must ensure that children with disabilities are educated with non-disabled peers to the maximum extent appropriate. So that means as much of their day, including these non-academic parts of their day, they need to be with their general ed peers. And if it's difficult for them, we as staff members need to figure out what to put in place to help them be successful in those environments. And only then can we decide, well, this might be a time where we need to keep data to determine whether or not we need to think about a different placement. But we need to do everything that we can, including supplementary aids and services first. The federal law, which is IDEA, Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, says there are 2 different parts for this one. There's LRE requirements, so each public agency must ensure that to the maximum extent appropriate, children with disabilities are educated with children who are non-disabled, and special classes, separate schooling, or other removal of children with disabilities from the regular education environment occurs only if the nature or severity of the disability is such that education and regular classes with the use of supplementary aids and services cannot be achieved satisfactorily. So that's almost exactly what the Michigan law says. So they are very, very similar. Adding on to that, IDEA also says that each public agency must ensure that each child with a disability participates with non-disabled children in extracurricular services and activities to the maximum extent appropriate to the needs of that child. The public agency must ensure that each child with a disability has the supplementary aids and services determined by the child's IEP team to be appropriate and necessary for the child to participate in non-academic setting. So what these things mean, these two areas mean removal from the regular environment should only occur if the nature of the disability is such that the education cannot be achieved without the extra aids and services, and that schools must provide the supplementary aids and services that are determined by the IEP team that are necessary for a child to participate in extracurricular and non-academic activities. So again, like I said, in regards to Michigan law, we have to be able to put services in place, such as things like a parapro support or other staff member support or visual schedules or sensory breaks, things like that. It would be unique to each child, but we can't just say, well, due to their disability, they can't participate in art class or recess. We have to put things in place to help them be more successful before saying things like that. And even then, we need to keep a lot of data to show that it's not appropriate. So I've come up with a couple different scenarios of what this looks like, because it's easy for me just to share the law and it might seem unrelatable, but a couple situations that I've actually seen firsthand here at our school are excluding a student because they cannot handle, in our words, they cannot handle it. They can't, or they might be overstimulated. So I know that we had a student with ADHD and they were told that they cannot attend art and music because of their disruptive behaviors. A solution to this might be having an IEP team meeting and determining the necessary supports. How can we support this child to help them be successful, to help them to prevent these disruptive behaviors, things such as a visual schedule, sensory breaks, or paraprofessional support so that the student can attend art and music with their peers. Another example that I know that I have seen this school year is that a student with autism is asked to stay home from a field trip because the environment might be too overstimulating. Now, I know that this thought process was in the best interest, what we thought was the best interest of the student, but what were some things that we could have done instead to help the student be less overstimulated in the environment? So the solution could be the school provides, again, supplementary aids such as additional staff, sensory tools, and alternative transportation to ensure that the student can participate with their peers, because it's such a great time for them to build those friendships and those connections and do things outside of the school with their friends. So I do have a couple of resources here at the bottom of this handout that you can look at later or share with families that may be going through some of these situations. So one of the websites is Michigan Alliance for Families, and this offers parent-friendly explanations of IDEA rights, LRE guidance, and advocacy help. I also added on here the Michigan Department of Ed website for the Office of Special Education has their own tab, and this provides information on how to request mediation or support if IDEA has been violated. So I made this handout more for parents so that if their child is being excluded from different activities, they know what to do. But I wanted to discuss it with you because I know that we're a team and I know that we have seen some of these situations, and I have learned a lot along the way as to how we can help prevent these situations from happening. So let me know if you have any questions about this, and I would love to talk about it to help better support our kiddos here at our school. Thanks for meeting with me.